It's becoming increasingly difficult to find a good airplane, and especially a low-hour airplane like this 182 behind me. This particular plane has low total time and very low engine hours, only 159 since major overhaul. It's been a Midwest plane with no corrosion, hangared, and well maintained. We always check the full history of the planes that we're buying, just to make sure there aren't any unpaid hidden liens and any damage or accident history. And this plane has a clean history, no accidents, and no prior unpaid liens. It's got all logs since new, a low airframe like I said, only 3,060 hours total time. It's in annual, it's IFR current and certified. It has long range fuel tanks, 84 gallons, and ADS-B out. Now the plane is in pretty original condition, but it has some important upgrades. The paint, as you can see, is fairly original, but it's in decent condition. There's a few chips here and there, which you would expect for the age. And the interior, again, fairly original, but it's really clean, no damages. And if you'd like, we can even ship you a set of either leather or fabric, new upholstery, for about $1,500, and you can pick whatever color you'd like off the palette. Overall, the glasses are in clean condition. You don't have any major chips or crazing or any kind of waves or deformations, especially in the windshield, so it's nice and clean and easy to see out when flying. Now with this plane having the long-range 84-gallon tanks, you can fly this for very long distances. You can get over 1,200 miles with the economy settings. It also has great climb rate of 980 feet per minute, starting at sea level. There's some really nice features, like I said, about this particular plane. One of them is that wing light. So up there on the wing is definitely where I prefer having the light on these Cessnas. It gives you better visibility when taxiing, especially very dark fields. And it's just overall a better location for the lights than being on the cowling in front of the plane. There's even some STCs out there to be able to switch them from the cowling up to that location on some planes. This 182 has one of the highest service ceilings. At full gross, you can actually go to 18,900 feet, so you can easily fly above any mountains or above adverse weather systems. It also has very short takeoff and landing distances. The takeoff is only 625 feet, while landing is only 590 feet. So you can easily operate this on any runway or grass strip, and they make great backcountry planes as well. Obviously, if you're going to be doing backcountry, grass strip, gravel, that type of thing, you usually pull the wheel pants off for that. But it is rare to have all these features in a single plane, and that's one of the reasons that this particular plane has such an extremely high demand. They're a great, versatile plane overall. The 182s can easily carry 4 people and lots of gear. It's got a large baggage compartment in the back and plenty of storage space, as well as the long-range tanks, means that you can fly for hours without stopping. Overall, this plane flies great. We actually had about 700-mile cross-country and a number of short flights since we got the plane. And each one of them handled beautifully. We had a brand new SkyTech starter installed. Other than that, it's been a really good plane. The maintenance has been well done on it. You can see that this plane has wheel pants installed. Now that's a great thing for getting a little bit better speed and a little more aerodynamic in cruise. Obviously, if you're using it for short field takeoff and landings, most people will take those off, especially on grass fields. So taking a look at the engine on this Cessna 182M, it is an 0470 Continental 6-cylinder, 230 horsepower, horizontally opposed, carbureted engine. So this has only just over 150 hours on it since overhaul. When they did the overhaul, they did quite a bit of components to it. It's got Continental original cylinders on it. You can take a look at it and see just how clean this engine is. It shows how many hours that's been flown. Very clean overall. All of the cables and wires and connections and everything like that have been overhauled in over time. You can see up here is one of the pads for the engine heater. So it's got a Tannis engine system, heating system, and that's for the oil, as well as all of the cylinders have probes on them too. And then connections and hoses and everything were just done when that was done, so you can see those are in really nice shape. All the accessories and everything are showing really nice. The alternator is fairly new condition as well. This plug here is for that Tannis engine heating system, and then we've got all these wires running throughout the different colors and everything are for that JPI digital engine monitoring system that's installed. You can take a look at the firewall. You can see that it's very clean, doesn't have any wrinkles, no corrosion on there at all to speak of. So it just shows you how maintained and how well this has been maintained over time. The mags up here are really good. There's slick mags up there, dual mags. When we purchased this, we went through a pre-buy inspection that included doing a compression check and a borescope. So the borescope came back clean. The valves, the cylinder walls, the piston heads, everything was clean on those borescope, all 6 cylinders. And then when we had a compression test done, that just came back at 72, 72, 73, 72, 70, and 76. So really good compressions for a Continental engine. You can see that it has the adapter here for the spin-on oil filter, which makes it very easy to do oil changes. So that's kind of a nice feature to have on there. And then this has a brand new SkyTech starter installed in it as well. So that's going to get you nice, good starts. Like I said, brand new, so it's going to have a long life left to it as well. Now let's take a look at the interior of the Cessna 182M. As you can see, it's pretty much original. You've got the kind of classic 70s theme with the velvet and the vinyl seats, but it's really nice condition overall. There's a little spot on the side there that used to hold the seatbelt in place, so there's a tiny little rip where that strap came out, but that's when they upgraded to the 3-point harness system on here, so we'll show that in a second. But looking overall at the seats, they're very clean. There's no stains, there's no rips anywhere on the rest of the fabric or anything like that. They've got nice headrests up here on the front seats. If I fold it back here, you can take a look at the back. They've got some pouches there, and then the back seats as well are in really nice condition. They've got little armrests to rest your arms on back here for the passengers, and then it is a 4-place intercom, so the intercoms are up here in the corner on this one. And then looking up here as well, I was talking about the harness system. It's actually got a retracting reel harness on here, so it's 3-point harness system, and this is really nice feature to have. And also the fact that it's attached to the main harness. A lot of times you get the Cessnas that clip in and then they tend to slide in and out, but this one, even though it's something you can clip and unclip, it's very tight, so it's a nice snug fit and isn't going to come loose on you in flight. Looking up at the top here, you've got your headliner in really nice shape. It looks like that maybe has been redone at one point in time. It's got a zipper there to be able to get up in the top and look at the spar section. We've got our nozzles here for the adjustable air for the back 2 passengers, and that's on both sides. Coming around up front here, you've got for your speaker system, so that if you have it on speaker instead of your earpieces, the audio will come out of here. We've got your pretty standard Cessna clips in there for your vents for your front. Kind of taking a look at the plastics as we go along. The plastics are in really good shape. We don't have cracks or anything like that. Still really nice, not all faded out coloring or anything. Nice deep big pockets in the front for storing stuff while you're traveling as well. It's got dual push to talk, and this one we do have to have checked on it, but the pilot side does work. So it's individual seats in the back. It's very comfortable that way. You've got 2 separate seats. These do have an adjustment here. You grab the nozzle, I think it's on the side, to reach your hand in there, but you can adjust the back of the seats as well. So we'll take a look at these seats in a little bit more detail. The pilot side is the dual articulating. You do have the articulating option here where you can adjust the height using this one. And then it slides back and forth with this, and then there's a lever on the side that also helps adjust the tilt there as well. And then on this side, you actually have the exact same thing where you've got the adjustment to lift up and down. You've got your lever to slide it forward and backward, make it easy to get in and out of the front and the back, and then it's got that little lever on the side to adjust the seat back at the same time. The carpets actually have been replaced at one point. They're almost new carpets, and they're in really nice shape. It's a really good color to go with it. Kind of breaks up the red tones to it, having that darker gray in there like that. Show you the panel that's on here. As I said before, a lot of it is fairly original, but there have been some upgrades as well over the years. So if we take a look, it's got the standard 6-pack of gauges over on the left side there. What's nice about it is the Sigmatech attitude indicator does have a gyro flag in there, so if you have a gyro issue in flight, that yellow flag pops down and you know that you've got to watch your gyro gauges. On top of the standard 6-pack here, we do have dual VORs, and the top one does have a glide slope. In the flight portion, you see that those are tracking the VORs properly, and they're well within tolerance, so that's nice for IFR flying. Down here is our JPI engine monitor, digital engine monitor with all 6 cylinder head temps, exhaust gas temperatures, oil temp, oil pressure. You've got your differential between, you can adjust what fields show up on here based on what you want, and then your voltage as well. And then just our standard buttons and switches and everything like that toggled on and off along there. And then we'll take a look at the center console here. So we've got a King KMA 24H intercom system, and that is 4-place intercom. It's connected to these 2 digital navcoms. We've got a KX155 and then the Narco MK12D. And so you can do 2 frequencies on each for both the comm and for the nav, so you can dial in other frequencies ahead of time and be ready to flip them over, switch them back and forth really quick. So that's really nice to have, especially on the IFR flights or anything. You can pop in the next frequency and be dialed in ahead of time. You've got the Cessna 300 transponder, and then over here we've got our gauges that show fuel flow for the left and right. Our amps, we do have the lights on, so we'll turn those off. Cylinder head temp, oil temp, and oil pressure, again, those are all down on the digital engine monitor as well. You've got a factory EGT gauge, and that is just 1 cylinder, so it's good to have that 6-cylinder one. You can see each individual one. Our manifold pressure is showing just over, just close to 29, which is what it should show when it's on the ground and turned off. Our RPMs, and then we've got our meter down here, our takt time, 3,064 hours on it total time. Flap settings, the gauges here for the cabin heat and cabin air defrost, obviously our standard carb, throttle, prop mixture. We've got nose trim, left and right, and also the elevator, so we've got rudder and elevator trim in here. We've got the radio, we can use a microphone to make the radio calls, cowl flaps open and closed, and then our fuel selector, which is left, right, both, and the off setting as well. And of course we have our Garmin 660 here in the dash. This has moving maps, traffic, weather, terrain, all different options that you can put in here if you've got a Garmin or other type of ADS-B in solution that you can pair up to it. So you can put up the map and you'll see it's got the terrain and other avoidance collision obstacles. You've got all kinds of different features that you can show up on here. You can select what you want to show, your altitude, ground speed, destination, your distance, as well as the time to arrive. If you've got it set up with the weather attached to it, you can show the wind and the temperatures. You've got a traffic page, so you can show traffic any distance out. You can set up flight plans. Again, the weather option shows you on here. We don't have anything connected, but if you do have a Sirius XM connection in there, it'll show you the weather. So all kinds of different options available to you within this Garmin unit. Another thing is if you have it set up with the in solution, you can see the 3D vision set up here. We've got the plane indicator. It's going to have your ground speed on this tape, your altitude on this tape, your this is your vertical speed here, and then you've got your CDI right in the middle there as well. So a very nice feature to have. It's a very good backup. It is battery operated, separate. It is plugged in right now, but if the electrical were to have some issues on it, you could fall back to this as kind of a backup option to get you on the ground safely. Lots of different tools in there, lots of different information that you can find for different frequencies, different airport information, distances, all kinds of nice helpful information right there at the push of a button. So it's a decent temperature day, but we're going to go ahead and just do one prime on here. give it a nice full shot of primer, and then we'll get everything turned on and get it started. So you can see up here we've got the factory gauges, cylinder head temp, and the oil temp, and the oil pressure, fuel, and amps. So on top of that one, we go down here, and we've got the JPI, and you can see on the JPI here, the oil temperature is still showing red at 61, so it's not quite warm enough to do a run-up, but that's very important because you can easily tell from this gauge. It's very clear and easy to understand that your oil temp is a little bit too low. You've got your oil pressure, which is in the green, and you've got your voltage, which is showing that it's charging at 13.6. This is showing the difference between the cylinders because one cylinder isn't quite up to the temperature here. But you can see you've got your individual cylinder head temps and your individual exhaust gas temperatures to easily monitor. Until the engine warms up, it's not going to show all of the bars on there. But without that, you're kind of relying on one particular temperature, that one probe, and that may not be indicating properly on the other cylinders. All right, so we've got the Garmin installed here. We have a map. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put in just a waypoint we're going to fly direct to. So let's pick a nearby airport for right now. And we'll activate the direct to, so it's going to tell us our direction and our heading. Obviously, once we get up in the air, we'll have to turn around because we are taking off from 3-1, so we'll have to make a U-turn around here. You've got your obstacle clearance on here. You've got your distance to destination, your ground speed, your altitude, how far off AGL once you get up. You've got your temperature according to the weather, and so what's really nice is that you can have an ADS-B in portable solution that you hook up to this via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Right now we've got the Garmin GDL52 hooked up through Bluetooth, and this is going to show you traffic and the weather and everything all on one device. So if you just want traffic, you'll be able to put it on here, show your traffic when you're in the air to air. I'm showing you this now a little bit because it's easier when it's on the ground, but you can zoom out different miles, different distances. So there's one out here at about 20 miles distance, 1,800 feet above ground. So it's really nice to have that feature. You can watch for traffic and everything when you're flying, and that'll show up on the map as well when you're in the air. You'll have the different traffic showing up on there. You've also got your weather. There's lots of different options you can show, but you can see here this green and yellow and orange is all different weather systems. So it's very similar to what people are used to seeing in something like ForeFlight or anything like that. It's very user-friendly, easy to understand. All the different airspaces, everything shows up right here on this, the terrain, everything. You can set up waypoint information, all kinds of different options. So it's really nice to have that here in the panel and easy to access. We're going to go ahead and get started for the run-up. So we have our fuel selector to both in the center here. Then we're going to push our mixture in, get it rich. Our prop is still in already. We had our throttle down for just the taxiing and stuff, so our throttle needs to be pushed up to 1700. Okay, once we get that, then we want to do an instrument check. First thing it says here, we got to do, everything here is doing good, oil pressure, everything like that. So first step is to pull the carb heat and test the carb heat.
Detroit, next traffic 287 is about 13 miles to the northwest of the airport. I will be entering base final for runway 14. Detroit, next traffic.
Okay, so you saw that the drop there when you do the carb heat, so we know that that's working. Then we want to check our amp gauge, so that's up here in the center. You can see that that is showing charging. We've got our beacon light on, so that's a fairly common little pulse that goes there. And then also down here on the JPI, you can see that it's showing 13.3 volts, so that's showing good. Our amp, or our suction gauge is over on the left side, and that needs to be between 4.6 and 5.4 inches, so that's good. And then the next is we're going to flip our mags, and we're going to check our mag drop. So we're checking for a 50 RPM differential between the two. So this is going to the right mag first. See the drop. Then we're going to go do the left mag. See the drop there. So that looks good. Then we have to cycle the prop. So we're doing one here. And we're checking the oil pressure drop. So you saw the pressure of the oil pressure drops there when you cycle. That's the first check. And then the second one is on the RPM gauge here. We want to see that that drops down. That's showing good. And then we also just look outside and we do one more cycle just to check outside, make sure we don't have anything going on with fluid or anything outside. We're going to go ahead and we'll pull back 1,000 RPM here and keep it back to the idle. Then we're going to check our flight controls, make sure that those are free and clear. Pull it back and forward, twist it both directions, make sure everything's good, nothing's hitting. So that looks good. We have our wing flaps. You can set anywhere from 0 to 20 degrees. We're going to go ahead and we're going to set them down to the first notch, which is 10 degrees for this takeoff. And that's just going to help your climb performance initially get off the field. It's really good for if you're doing a grass strip or soft field or something like that, short fields. You can also do up to 20 degrees of flaps, and that's going to lift you up off the ground and give you a higher climb. If you've got a 50-foot obstacle close by, you've got options there to do that. And then we'll go ahead and we've got our cowl flaps already open from the taxi, so that's good. We've got our trims set to the middle, takeoff trim here in the center, takeoff trim for the nose. Roll that down just there. So that looks good. Our cabin doors are already locked and closed. We've got our instruments set. We've got the radio frequency. We've got the weather. We've dialed that in. Winds are calm. It's clear skies. So we're all set and ready to go here. All right, now we've got the center line, so we're going to go ahead and push our power in nice and steady and smooth. Get it up to full operating power. And we're watching for our airspeed. We want to go ahead and lift the nose at 60 to take off, 60 miles an hour. And then our initial climb out should be at 90 miles per hour. And this is until all obstacles are cleared. We maintain 90 miles an hour. We've got our initial climb out here. Now that we are up at a decent altitude, safe altitude, we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull the power back a little bit. Drop our manifold pressure. Pull our prop back a little bit to get our RPMs down. And we're at 4,000 feet and we're still climbing at about 700 to 800 feet a minute at about 110 miles an hour. We've got a really good climb rate going still. We'll get to a nice level and we'll level off and we'll show you some cruise here as well. And while we're doing this, we're always watching and monitoring this engine monitor. We want to watch and check for the temperatures on both the EGTs and the CHTs. We'll apply the cowl flaps as necessary to make sure that we don't get too high of temperatures. Right now, our highest temperature is 1390 on cylinder 3, or 1400, excuse me, on cylinder 1 over there. And our cylinder temperature, the highest is 370. So obviously well within parameters. And the other thing is that you can set up the parameters on there so you can see it's got a red line mark of 450. That's the maximum CHT that you want to run on this engine, although we obviously want to stay below that as much as possible. You can see our oil temperature has gotten up to a nice temperature of 165, and we're maintaining a good oil pressure at 66. So everything looks good on there. So the nice thing is that first 10 degrees of flaps to help you slow down a little bit, you can set anything below 160. So that's kind of nice. You don't have to worry about the white arc until after you get that first 10 degrees in. Getting a little bit bumpy and choppy up here. Apologize for the Video bouncing around a little bit. Get our next set of flaps in now that we're down below 110. Down to 20 degrees of flaps. We're on a short final. Got our mixture in. Our prop in. Got our throttle pulled way back, but not quite all the way out, carrying just a little bit of power. Helps us keep a smooth descent. Make sure that we don't drop out of the air here. Pull the nose up so that we can flare and let the air speed bleed off. Nose pulled back, you're able to slow it down really quickly without using too much brake. We'll be able to take this first turn off here down to the ramp.